Welcome to Decision Space, the only show to take place right here in the space between the turns of your favorite game. I'm Chris Yee,
I'm Paul Solomon.
I'm Brendan Hansen.
and this is the podcast about decisions in games.
And today, it's filler day. We're digging into the full ludography of one of my major design icons. I've talked about him a million times, Mr. Phil Walker Harding. And we're going to go through many of his, 112 something listed items and games on Board Game Geek. And in fact, we're going to build a tier list together. Now, this is not a tier list of the greatest games of all time. This is a tier list within Phil Walker Harding's ludography. So we might have an S tier Phil game, or we might have a D tier Phil game. And in a lot of cases, unless you're me, you probably haven't played many of these games, and that's okay. Where does Chris, thank you for being here, our guest host, Chris, of course, from the Dice Tower. Chris, how long have you been there?
I've been working at the Dice Tower for a little over 5 years now, I realize. It was January of 2021. Moved across the country from Las Vegas out to Florida.
Oh, wow.
And I've really enjoyed it since, actually.
Super cool. And tell us a little bit about your connection to Phil Walker Harding games in general. Is he high on your list of designers? I know you and Wendy kind of skew a little heavy in your gameplays, probably, relative to what it is that Phil Walker Harding puts out. But how many of these have you played, you think? And then sort of what are your general thoughts there?
Well, I thought that I'd played a lot, and now I feel intimidated that you said he has 112 cataloged on Board Game Geek. So
yeah, 112 title items, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. Some of those are promos, expansions,
right,
things like that, right? But I've played a lot of his ludography, and he ranks up very high. He's certainly in my top 10 favorite designers. Done so many of the seminal classics that I just always love coming back to. And then, sure, you make 112 titles. Some of those will be misses, but no, I think that he's a phenomenal designer. He's a good person to have as an icon, as a bit of a hero. Before working at the Dice Tower, Wendy and I, who you mentioned, we actually did we had our own little podcast, Meeple Overboard. If anyone remembers that, then bonus points to you. And we did a Hall of Fame. And I think we did like two things. I think Dominion got entered into the Meeple Overboard Hall of Fame, and Phil Walker Harding, because he's just that influential, that lovely, and that fantastic of a designer, in my opinion.
Phenomenal.
So yeah, two
Great.
things.
Well, you're in good company here, and obviously, very prestigious award among the many other awards that he has been nominated for and has won. And we'll dig into some of those as we go along here.
I love that it started with Dominion and Phil Walker Harding for the Hall of Fame. That's perfect. The designer and then just Dominion, which deservedly so. Yeah. As we dive in, we always like to say thank you to those who support the show. So the show is supported by 68 incredible patrons. Thank you. Anytime we get a new patron, too, we like to shout out on the show. So Dan Domey, thank you so much for your support of the show. If you want to learn more, you can check out patreon.com/decisionspace.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Joining, of course, gets you access to exclusive patron-only channels on our Discord, and we have pre-releases of each episode and patron-exclusive pre-show content. Today, Brendan and I talked about a couple of games, Foundations of Rome, Foundations of Metropolis, Frosted Blooms, and a couple of designs that are just living in our heads and maybe someday will come out. But we also have a new review this week. Anytime we get one of those, we like to read them out on the show. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to them. We'll read yours out on the show. This one comes to us from A. Malik, titled, Gets into the Weeds in All the Best Ways, 5 stars. This is the Rare Board Games podcast that isn't primarily obsessed with the latest games, but the deeper issues that make gaming rewarding and enjoyable. This is the podcast that's not afraid to have CT Win on to discuss the philosophy of gaming, to drop hot and wrong takes on what makes Euro games tick, or write love letters in the form of deep analysis to their favorite games. Thank you, A. Malik, for your lovely review.
I mean, well deserved. Well deserved. I mean, coming from someone who all they focus on is clearly reviewing the newest games, all that stuff.
I was going to say,
really
don't take it as too much of a slight.
Oh no, not at all. Because you serve different audiences, and there's a crossover in that Venn diagram of people who do want just quick reviews and all that stuff, but also people who do dive in deep on just the minutia of gaming, because I find that interesting. So yeah,
And as we go here, I think we're certainly going to get to see another side of you than you probably have enough time to say in your Dice Tower videos. But before we go any further, I want to say not only are you a content creator reviewer, you are also a game designer yourself. Of course, you designed Soda Jerk that came out from All Play in their Tiny Box line, I believe. So congratulations to you. Well done.
thank you. I appreciate it.
And if you want to try it, it just came to BGA in alpha, I believe, right?
It's
So
in
that you
yeah.
could, if you have alpha access on BGA, you could try out Soda Jerk.
Yeah, it's
Fantastic.
up there. I've been invited into multiple games of it. Can't keep them straight, but I'm having fun either way.
Nice.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into the tier list. As I said, I was wrong, not 112, but 102 linked items. But luckily, many of those are promos and expansions and a lot of things in series of games. And so we'll be able to categorize some of these and move forward somewhat quickly through a lot of them. I have spent some time analyzing all of the many things on here, and I've put them into some categories that we can go through. And as we do, we will tier list these things. And the tiers we've got here are the standard S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, and then not played by us individually. And I think what we'll do is we'll all give our own personal opinions on each one, and then perhaps we'll decide whether or not there's a sort of official decision space placement. Does that sound about right?
Seems to be the way to do it.
And do you have any general guidelines? I mean, I always forget what S stands for. What is S tier? Do we know? Super something?
Sure, Supreme. I think it comes from a lot of Japanese video games, arcades. You'll do S tiers like the secret higher ranking. Special
Okay.
sometimes I think is also depends on the context. But like the absolute top of the pyramid.
Okay.
Right?
I
You don't
learned
give
it-
out
Creme.
mini S grades. What, Chris?
Yeah, I only learned that from the Chocobo racing in Final Fantasy VII. I remember that was my first exposure. Like, there's a tier above A?
Cool. Well, we'll see how many of these Phil has as we get going. Let's begin with what I would consider Phil Walker Harding's early era. These are the games from about 2007 to 2014, and these are practically self-published by Phil. His imprint was called Adventureland Games, and according to Adventureland Games, they make exciting strategy board games. Adventureland Games produces titles rich in theme and fun. I'm going to do these slightly out of order, but many of these you have never heard of or played. There is Cannonball Colony, which is a sort of polyomino, weird, take that interactive game. There's Caption If You Can, which is essentially Cards Against Humanity with pictures. There is Flickachet, which is basically just a disc flicking game on a table, almost nothing but discs. We have 3 games from WizKids called the Shuffling the Deck games. There's Pirates of the Spanish Main, The Lone Ranger, and Pacific Rim. I've looked into how these things go, but I can't remember, and I've never seen a copy. And then we get into kind of the meat of his early catalog, and that is in 2007, he releases Archaeology, which is a card game with a board. Then he releases Archaeology, the card game, which is no board. And then finally in 2016, this is picked up by, I can't remember who, and they put out Archaeology, the New Expedition, and this is the first place we should take a break on our list and get into it. Raise your hand if you've played it. I've played it. Archaeology, the New Expedition. Chris has played it.
I have not.
All right, Chris, dig in. What do you got?
Yeah, so this is I believe it was Z-Man, I think, that picked up the new
right.
edition. But
Yes.
the original one was certainly, it had that kind of home, or like not self-published, but his own company.
Yeah.
The artwork and vibes and everything to it. But the game it remained fairly the same even in the new expedition, just some extra content, some variety there. But it is a game, it when you describe it to people, they think it almost sounds kind of like a Uno variant type thing. You know, what do you do on your turn? You draw cards, then you can play cards out. You know, and that's pretty much the whole thing. But it has some nice, pleasant, different versions of set collection where you can play a set of 2 cards, but a set of 2 only scores a few points. If you wait until you get 5 of a kind and play it down, it's going to be worth a lot more. But sandstorms might come and make you discard your parts of your hand
Exactly.
and stuff. Things that almost sound like they don't fit in what we typically call the modern hobby board games. But this one really sings for me. I like this one a lot.
This is when I still play, and yeah, the thing that sort of hooked me up, hung me up at the start was that this is a press your luck set collection hand management game, because when you draw cards out of the deck, you might draw one of these sandstorms, in which case everyone has to discard half of their hand. And so you're trying to build up to play large sets of parchment scraps and tablets to complete those things. And there's like 4 pharaoh masks, and if you get all 4, it's like 100 points or something. But the sandstorms are coming, and you only have 1 tent to sort of hold them off. The new expedition adds these monuments that give you various ways to score. It's got a lot of randomness in the draw and stuff, but it's still a fun set collection game. In the interest of time, let's pause there and let's give our ranking, our tier list ranking. Where are you going to put this one, Chris?
For me, this is a solid B. I mean, it's good. It is held back a little bit by the fact that, sure, it's not one of his best designs, but I think that for this type of card game, it's so solid. To the point, if you haven't played it before, might be worth giving it a go when you see one available.
I think you have it bang on at B. This is one that I will continue to play. I'll probably pull it off my shelf every year or two. And I should say, I have a 2x4 Calyx over there just full of Phil Walker Harding games to try to snag them all. And so I think we're agreeing this is a B tier filler. But when I say filler, of course, that's PHILLER. Brendan, you happy with that description?
It sounds great. It's coming back to me that I have played this. It was just 15, maybe 10 years ago.
Any parting thoughts?
I have no memory of it. But
perfect.
It does the set collection stuff that we're going to talk about a bunch today. So it's cool.
A lot. Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yeah.
And based on the timeline, this is his first time doing it. Up next, in 2011, 4 years after Archaeology, I should say Archaeology was really the first game that he published, and I would say that was a winner. In 2011, we have Dungeon Raiders, which came out again from DeVere in 2018. I've played this one.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I have as well.
Anybody else? Okay, well, Dungeon Raiders, I should say, is primarily a hand management blind bidding game with obviously a dungeon raiding theme. Each round, everyone has a hand of cards that's like 1 to 6, I think, and possibly a few special cards, depending on your class or things that have happened. And then a row of cards, event cards, are flipped out on the table. And some of them are treasure. And some of them are bad things like traps that you want to avoid, or some are maybe they're monsters, I can't remember. And you go into the first room and everyone plays a card face down, right? And you reveal. And depending on what number you played, you might get a very good treasure or a bad treasure. Or if you played the lowest thing when a trap happens, you would lose some life and so on. So there is managing what cards you play, because of course in the round, you won't get that card back for later. And you'll see what's coming to some extent, but there'll be some face down things. And at the end of the game, whoever took the most damage immediately loses, but of the rest of them, the high score wins. Did I do it justice there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it, like you said, the main point is that it has that kind of fun, adventurous theme, that dungeon party that you might expect from like a D&D type game, kind of distilled into this cute little bidding-ish game.
Yeah. And you can see a little bit, who has spent their 6, who hasn't. Oh, they have a special crystal ball that they got from the last treasure room. It's like a lot of these games, pretty light, but this is one that I will continue to pull out. I really enjoy it, and it flies by. So I'm going to go ahead and put this at also a B tier filler.
Yeah, I'm torn between a B and a C. I'm kind of at a C, where it's a little bit. It's one that I'm going to pull out less than say the previous one we just talked about, Archaeology card game, right? But I will say it's one that I do keep in my collection. One, because I think it's a neat curio, but 2, because it is still a fun game. I enjoy pulling it out. I upgraded from the original printing to the DeVere one, solely because the artist on the DeVere one, Albert Montes, is a phenomenal artist. He's the guy who did he works with Salt and Pepper a lot, and he has that graphic novelist kind of art style. So
nice.
Just a small little selfish point of like, I like this one more. So anyway, yeah.
Fabulous.
Especially
I
at
love
a
that. And just before we go on, which do you think, for folks that have maybe not played a lot of these Phil Walker Harding games, which one do you think is a better first touch?
of the two that we've talked about so
Of
far.
those two, yes, of those two.
I think archaeology. It's a little bit more representative. It's a little lighter, but it's also cleaner.
Okay. Okay. I'm not sure I'd agree, but hey, you might
Okay.
totally be right. There's something so easy about, okay, everybody play a card, and there's like this donkey space of will they play it now, won't they play it? That I don't know. It's maybe got a little faster flow. Who's to say? Let's move on to our last game from the early games era of Phil Walker Harding. This, I believe, is pretty much the last game that is solely published by Adventureland Games, and that is Pack of Heroes. Pack of Heroes was a very cool Kickstarter um, with a comic book theme, and there are sort of all these original comic book characters, and it comes with a comic book depending on what you did that explains all the lore of things. But essentially, this is a Summoner Wars type tactical fighting game that takes place on a 3x3 grid with smash up style deck building where I think we pick two or three of these factions, and the factions come with or maybe you just pick one, but the faction comes with like five characters. There's like a leader and two assist guys and somebody else. And then you deploy them to the field and they have some special powers and they attack each other. And you can win either by eliminating their whole squad or like blocking off their whole spawn row, basically. Have you played this one, Chris?
I have, yes.
See, we got the right guy here. Chris knows the games. So Pack of Heroes, I've got it on the shelf over there. And I actually, when I met Phil the first time, I think it was at Gen Con, he knew that I liked this game and he brought me like the original comic book that came from the Kickstarter and some special foil cards and then also like a couple of pins. So shout out Phil Walker Harding. Thank you. That's on my special collectible shelf over there. I think this is a cool game that's sort of very under the radar. People don't know it.
Yeah, I'm sure that it's hard to find and everything. I have a copy because it was a gift from someone who's a fan of the Dice Tower from
Mm.
Australia. So shout out to
Oh,
Joanna if you're listening, right? She knows Phil, gets the game with him
yeah.
and stuff. And so she came out to one of our events, Dice Tower West, and she gifted this to me from Phil, which was just this mind-blowing experience for me.
Yeah. That's
I
super
wish I
cool.
liked
And
I wish I liked the game.
I understand. I think this is a game, again, this is like, it's not a very serious endeavor. It wants to be played over and over because it wants you to know these characters intimately, because you can play a sort of open draft at the start to build your team and then go about fighting. But for the most part, it's like, do one damage to your neighbor, you know, do maybe you do a damage to a bunch of things, but it's such a small area that there's not a lot of crazy stuff going on. Kids could play this and have a pretty good time. It's a pretty light puzzle, but it's got some cool aesthetics to it. Uh, I'm going to put this one at a C tier for me because I would still play it very often, and I need a little room for the games that I genuinely don't like.
I I feel a little bad. I'm coming at it a D for this one,
That's
and
okay.
that's my personal taste, right? I don't necessarily. I'm very picky when it comes to these head-to-head kind of battle arena
Sure.
type games like this. I think it's
Sure.
very cute. It's full of great ideas, especially for the scope and the scale that it is. I think it's a very good game for other players, not for me necessarily, but one I'm
And I
still holding
think
on to.
yeah, and it's clearly a game that's on our shelves for somewhat non-gameplay reasons, right? I mean, this was a gift to you that you've keep. If anybody else had designed this, I probably wouldn't have it, but it's a cool little collector's thing and I do enjoy it. Okay, well, also in this time period, I should say, in 2013, Phil Walker Harding designs his biggest, most popular, most successful game, Sushi Go. And this was originally published by his company, but or maybe even before that. I might have the wrong date on here. But then, of course, Gamewright picks it up and creates the edition that we all have seen now. Has sold millions of copies, and there's a long line of these. But Brendan, tell us about Sushi Go. I know it's a big one for you.
Yeah, Sushi Go's just drafting distilled as most basic as possible. It's a set collection drafting game where you're gonna pick a card from. You get a hand of cards, you pick a card, and you're collecting sets. There's tempura, you get 2 of those, 5 points. There's sashimi, you need 3. There's rolls, maki rolls, where you're sort of doing the 7 wonders thing. That's the military in that game where if you have more rolls than everyone else, you're gonna get a certain number of points, but you don't wanna overinvest in rolls. So it's all very, very simple mechanisms like this. There's chopsticks, which is cool. It's basically I'm gonna pick 2 from a different pack, which is cool. I think Sushi Go does an amazing job of creating an engaging decision space with basically nothing. It's such a threadbare game, and still manages to be delightful, exciting, and fun. I really like Sushi Go. I think it's one of the most simple games that I would just happily play for hours. There's
And
something cathartically fun about it.
I threw over to you because I believe, having just done our top however many games, this was like top 20 for you, or was it top 10? Remind me.
I think it's amazing because you reminded me of this, that was on my
Uh-huh.
list from 2024. But yeah, I love Sushi Go. It's great. It's definitely been aided in my list by one, playing it with families. This is a great game where if there's families that I know that sort of they've scratched the surface on modern hobby games, right? They're like, Ticket to Ride, Sushi Go, we're good. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And I really love playing with those types of groups. And I've played it a ton on BJ. It's actually
okay.
it's fun. Yeah. Paul's
Nice.
like, oh no, he's thrown his life away to chasing
it's
Elo
okay.
and Sushi Go.
It's okay. I will say, over the summer, I usually will teach at a day camp, like a board game thing,
Yeah.
and it's kids as young as first grade and up. But like, Sushi Go is one that works and works and works, and it's one that they'll just come in and play every day. It sort of is along the lines of a Flip 7, honestly, where people love it the
Sure.
first time and they would love to play it every day. And I do still play Sushi Go with new gamers, but there are later games in this line that I would play more often. Where are you, Chris,
Yes.
with this one?
Yeah, that's the thing, is like this is almost a victim of the success of its follow-up games,
Yeah.
which we'll absolutely
Yeah.
get to here in a second. But it's such a great game. I came to it after having been introduced to more deeper hobby games, after having learned Seven Wonders and everything. And I thought, okay, well, we'll play this one. It's cute, and I was instantly hooked. This is an A tier game for me. Sushi Go is it's phenomenal in its simplicity, and not despite its simplicity, but because of its simplicity.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm actually going to put this one at B tier. I think it's a commanding thing to have created so early in his career, and I really think that it is a sort of prototypically good drafting game in a box. But I'm saving room for the amazing games that I love and love and love from Phil. And Brandon, you get to give us your first tier list
Yeah.
letter here.
This is an A for me too. I think Sushi Go is just one of those games where I don't think you could make it much better. Obviously, he iterates, he adds more to it, but it's just so perfectly distilled. For me, this Sushi Go and Phil Walker Harding, like if I had to pick 3 games, this would be one of the 3 games that I would
Sure.
say take this game as an example of Phil Walker Harding's oeuvre. This is it, right?
I guess we're going to hear more down the line here.
Yeah,
That's true. Let's go into it. Sushi Go Party.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
game,
Yeah.
except mix and match all the cards with lots of
That's
new
right.
cool designs that riff. They're great. You know?
It also comes with a nicer box. You get a score track with soy sauce things that you get to move around. And then each game you play with like 3 appetizers and a roll and a dessert and some specials. And that increased variability certainly gives the game more longevity, but it's a little longer setup. It takes a minute to get things set up, and it depends on player count. And it's a little different. I think I'd put this probably in the same spot at B tier for me. I really like many of the cards that are in there more than the ones that are in the standard game, and they do really interesting different things. Like, Brennan, you would like this one, where I can't remember what it's called now. I don't know. But if I'm the only person to play this thing, it's 3 points. But if 2 of us play it, we discard them. And so sometimes when I play, I'd be like, guys, I'm playing this card. Don't play this card. I'm playing it. And then everyone can make a decision. Should I tank my own score to stop them or not? Or just, let them have it? Because as you know, in a Phil Walker Harding game, 3 points on a turn could be very good. He typically operates on a 1, 2, 3 scale. And then all the different desserts, all that stuff is really fun. So still a B tier, but a better version of Sushi Go, surely for gamers.
Oh, that's funny. The Sushi Go Party straight up goes to the S tier for me. And yeah, it very few games I think succeed in what I keep referencing Dominion. It was my big entry point into the gaming hobby, but that idea of having that variability where you change one ingredient, one set of cards in there, and now you're playing quite a bit of a different game. I think that this one succeeds at that in such a shockingly elegant way. Yes, it's more futzing about at the beginning for setup, but I find that trade-off absolutely worth it. It's one of my favorites.
Fantastic. I will say, out of the 102 linked items on BGG, this is several of them, because you'll have the soy sauce promo and you'll have this other promo and the whatever, and they're all things that you want to have. They're not just alternate art; they're alternate gameplay, and they're really fun. In addition, there is one called Sushi Go Party Palooza coming out in 2026, and my understanding is that this is essentially a sequel to Sushi Go Party that can be incorporated with Sushi Go Party. So maybe it's just like a double size expand alone. Chris might have even touched this game. Is it true, or have you seen it? What?
I've not seen it yet. No, I've heard
Okay.
nice word about it from the. I guess it'll be at. I assume it. Yeah, it should be this year. So I would anticipate Gen Con, I guess.
Okay.
Game Right has a nice booth there. Really underrated booth, by the way. When you go to Gen Con there, make sure to check out the Game Right stuff. It's really cool. But very, very excited about this because it is a compilation of several of those promos that you mentioned, right? Many of the promos that got printed one time. Let me tell you, there's very few games I own promo cards for. I tried to purchase everything I could for Sushi Go Party. So to have them in a more compiled printing like this in this Party Palooza standalone expansion thing, I'm really jazzed about it because some of the promo cards are not cut to the same size exactly.
I know.
So even if I'm duplicating content I already own, that's fine because I'll have the right size cards now.
I was going to say this. They have made a couple of production errors or missteps with Sushi Go Party. There were some that were just really poorly aligned originally, and you could send in or message to get a reset of cards. The insert in the box had some issues. They came out with different versions. I'd say probably the Sushi Go Party you will go buy now at the store is probably in good shape, and it's definitely the one I recommend. One other touch point in this line is the Sushi Go 10th anniversary edition, which I bought, and it comes with a wood lid and a sort of fake Sushi Go, a fake Phil Walker Harding signature on it, and it's numbered. And in addition, this is just the original Sushi Go with some foiling on the card backs, which is very pretty. And then there are like 4 to 6 additional desserts in this game that are not any other games, and possibly they'll show up in Sushi Go Party Palooza. I don't know.
I think I've seen the listing. I believe that is correct. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because of course, with these different card backs that have foil on them, they're not really compatible with the previous games, which is frustrating, but they're very cool. There's one where it's like it's got some kind of weird finish on it where you don't know the card value until you like blow on it or like rub it. You heat it up and then you can see the card value.
Yeah, there's a temperature. Yeah, you put your thumb on it or something. Yeah, and then you see a hidden value underneath it. Stupid gimmick. Awesome. Totally. Stupid gimmick.
And then there's something with there's like D12s that you're dealing with. So really more interesting ideas. So we'll see some of those in the future. And then the last one, I'll jump the gun and say this is my favorite game out of the Sushi line is Sushi Roll. And quick side note, there's also Sushi Go Spin Some Dim Sum that is not a Phil Walker Harding game. But back to Sushi Roll. This is essentially a dice drafting game. The sushi items are now on dice. The appetizers are on one kind of dice. The maki rolls are on another, etc. And they're publicly available. You can see them on everyone's board, and you take them and roll them and put them on your board. And then in turn order, you draft them because some of the some of the dice will let you take from other people. But then everyone passes their little tray that holds the tiles on it to the left, and you re-roll them. And so you're drafting dice with their current faces, but you can spend some resource to re-roll them. And then, I'm hoping to get that sashimi, but it's coming on a dice that right now is a sashimi, but maybe later is a tempura or something else. So it's the sheer fact that it's face up. It really changes the dynamic of playing, but it still to me feels like the core tensions of the scoring in Sushi Go, and being able to swap dice with other people. Find it very well, obviously tactile in its way, but also just a really good strategic version of the game.
Have you played this one, Brendan?
I have not played Sushi Roll.
It has a lot of those strengths that Paul mentioned. For me, it has one drawback, and that is that you don't take simultaneously. You do take
Right.
turn-wise around the table
Right.
because, now this is a huge strength of it, the chopstick tokens,
Right.
you spend them, and that's what allows you to grab a die from a different player's tray in front of them, the little conveyor belt piece.
Mhm.
And so it really feels like, I go to a lot
That's
of Korean
cute.
barbecue, I go to a lot of sushi.
Mm.
When you just reach across the table with the chopsticks,
Let me
yoink.
get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to take one of
Yeah,
those
yeah, yeah.
dumplings. Don't mind me.
Yeah.
So it has its drawbacks and its advantages. For me, I would probably put this one at a B tier because of that little trade-off. I do like it a lot, but I held on to the classic card versions of Sushi Go as like the games I'll pull out more often.
Being that this is my favorite version of the game, I'm going to put it at A tier, but realistically, it's about the same as the others overall in my likelihood to pull it out, but it's a great design. And I think it's so cool to, like, after all the time he had spent with Sushi Go, to revisit it and come up with what is essentially a new game that is doing similar things in a new way. Sushi
Yeah,
Go, the
very
dice
admirable.
game. Yeah.
Very
I
admirable.
feel like we'd be remiss, Paul, to not mention that if you buy Sushi Go Party, you can play Sushi Go. So if someone's listening,
Oh, that's
they
right.
haven't played Sushi Go and we've convinced you to try it, you should just buy Sushi Go Party. And you can
It's
play
all in
Sushi
there.
Go. All the
Yeah.
cards are in there. That's what you
Yeah.
should do. You should just, And there, you will enjoy going back to it. Paul, I also don't like hanging thoughts on the show. It's Miso Soup, the card that if you
Thank
draft
you.
it, you get 3 points, which is good. High value in fill.
High
land.
value.
3
Yeah,
points is basically the creme de la creme.
it
Takes
is.
it away. Yeah. Sushi Go Party in general. I'm sorry. I know we're moving on. We have
No, we're
102
still
games to
there.
talk about. But the one reason why I love base Sushi Go is I feel like it's drafting with a bit of donkey space where you're trying to, you
Mhm.
can really predict what other people might do. So it becomes puzzly drafting where you can look at other people's tableaus and say, oh, right, this person's going to do this. I remember I passed this hand that had sashimi, so I think they're going to take that for the third, which means I'll get tempura. So as I'm looking at this hand, 3 picks from there, I need to take the tempura, even though I could take a sashimi because it will never be worth any points. And I think that the fact that it can operate on that level and be puzzly in that way is just really delightful for a game that is so simple. So it leaves things there for you if you want to actually crunch it out, but you don't have to. You can also
Yeah.
just,
Last thought I'll share on Sushi Go. If you've never looked at the Zoc German edition of the game of base Sushi Go, it is horrifying and hilarious.
Okay, this has to be a collector's item for me now. I'll have to get that.
You should
Oh,
look
yeah.
at it at some point. Yeah.
And they're still selling this thing? Oh, wow. Yeah, you're going to want to get a look at that. That is wild. It almost looks like a Parappa the Rappa type thing. Cool. Well, I should say I put Sushi Go in the early stage because it was originally published by Adventureland Games. But this is really the start of what I would call the golden age of Phil Walker Harding games, which we could say is from about 2013 to 2018 plus. And I'm just going to quickly read through the titles that he bangs out in this time period, starting with Sushi Go in 2013. Then he releases Cacao in 2015 and a couple expansions. Then Imhotep in 2016. 2017 gives us Barenpark, and in 2018 we have Gizmos. Many of these games were highly vaunted and nominated. Let's see, what did I write down? Imhotep was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres. Cacao was on the Spiel nomination list. Gizmos won the 2019 Origin Awards for Best Board Game. Barenpark was nominated for the Golden Geek Best Family and Meeple's Choice Awards. Gizmos won the 2019 Mensa Select Award. Barenpark won the Spiel der Spiele, the Game of Games Award in 2017. And Gizmos won Board Game Australia's Best Australian Game Award in 2019. The list goes on and on and on. Okay, these are the games that made me fall in love with this designer and just my jaw to the floor. So let's start with Cacao. Brendan, have you played Cacao?
I've only played Cacao once, about
Okay.
8 years ago. So I'm not the one to intro it.
What
It's
do you
been a
remember?
long time.
Tell us what you remember about Cacao.
Just it's like circular, and you're moving your pieces around, right?
That's a player board, little circular
Yeah?
player board.
Okay,
Yes,
that's what
Got a
I've
little
got for
track
you.
on it.
It's been a long
Okay.
time.
Well, here's the key to this game, which is a genius idea that I don't think anyone else has ever done. This is a worker tile placement game. The board is a checkerboard. It's a square grid checkerboard. And the black squares, so to speak, are action spaces. And the white squares, so to speak, are players' worker tiles. And you place next to them to activate the actions. And your tiles might have 2 workers on this side and 1 over here, 1 there. And so when you place them, you get certain actions out of that. But you also might place next to other people's. And so you're giving them actions as well. And when you create certain spaces on the board, you're able to select which tile will go in. And there's very standard things of getting resources with some limited capacity for how many you can hold, and then trading them in for points at different rates, values, so to speak. But then there's also area majority temples and maybe a couple of other things that I've forgotten. Chris, tell us about it.
Oh, you're absolutely correct that I'm shocked that no one else has copied this idea. It's so good. It has that Carcassonne feel where there's not a set board. It just kind of grows as you play tiles out. And I love that kind of fluidity to it. There's a few things like there's the river track as well. You want to advance up that
That's
gets
right.
a lot of points. You can get tiles, and this is another one. You can get these little sun discs, I
Sun
believe they
tiles.
are,
Yeah. Yep.
that allow you to place over a previously played tile. Once again, something
Yeah.
you don't really see. You don't play the game of Carcassonne and go, you know what? This city actually wasn't supposed to look like that, and you overbuild on it, right? It does a couple of things that are just so clever. The game is brilliant. It got 2 expansions, both of which I think are very solid, easy to integrate, and yet it's still kind of like an underrated award-nominated game, as
That's
odd
right.
as that is to say.
That's right. And you're right about the overbuilding. There are games that will sort of allow you to do this perpetually, like Warsaw City of Ruins, one of my favorite games, other games. This one just allows you to do it at the end of the game if you have one of these sun discs. The considerations you make in this game are really unique because of this spatial worker placement, and it's interactive in surprising, indirect ways, and really cool. It has a classical sort of, I think this comes out from Lookout Spiele. It's sort of got that older Euro look to it. On the base game alone, this is the first S tier Phil Walker Harding game for me. I think it's just a masterful concept, and it's so fun to play. I love to show it to people.
This is hard for me because this whole era. I mean, you are right that it's the golden era. I'm gonna put this one in the A tier, but there is definitely a case to be made that it could go up into the S tier for sure. Brendan, good news. This is also on Board Game Arena, so if you need another
Ooh,
game
Ooh,
to elo chase, you know what I mean?
that's right.
I can pick
It's
up
worth it.
Cacao. Okay, that's worth it. Okay, I'm gonna check out Cacao. It sounds good.
Let me give you just a little note on the couple of expansions. The first one is Chocolatl, which is spelled oddly. And Chocolatl, I would consider an essential expansion. Not that it's needed, but it's one you immediately want to get. It creates a 3-stage production thing where you get the cacao, and then you can turn it to chocolate, and then sell the chocolate for a larger rate. That's good. It also has other tile types that are good. There's like I don't think it's a promo. There's one that you get points for not putting workers next to it. So it takes a side of your tile that was previously had no design value and makes it valuable and says now use your sort of non-worker spaces. But one of the best ones is very simple. you get a couple map tokens, and that just lets you. There's sort of a rivering price thing, and you can just spend a map token to get access to a tile that is not currently available. So it's just a free resource for you to spend a couple times. I believe this is in this expansion too. This is a mechanism I have thought about so many times. It is the hut module. The hut module is essentially upgrades, player power upgrades, let's say, and you spend points to buy them on your turn. So maybe every time that you get cacao, you get an extra cacao. Or if you sell it, you get +1 points, or you get extra points for your water track or something. Some of them actually just you spend coins and just get additional coins. But the thing that is unique here and very special and cool, and I will certainly be stealing, is that when I spend 5 coins on this tile, I don't lose the 5 coins. The tile is worth 5 coins, 5 points, plus whatever the effect is. And so um, what it does is it allows you to invest in upgrades and feel the ramping power of them without having to like sacrifice progress, without having to like take a risk or a gamble. But you still have to have the points on hand. So if I want to get the really great 10-point power, that means I have to wait a little longer. Or is it better to just spend my 10 on 2 5s? Um, it's really clever, and I don't see it get used, and I will certainly be using it on a planned future Honeybuzz expansion, the Huts expansion. Any quick thoughts on Chocolatl?
No, I think you covered it quite well.
And then the second one is Diamant, I believe, which has a bunch of gems and a diamond cart and more stuff, and also good. One thing to say is I created a custom 3D printable insert for the box that will hold everything in every promo ever made. It's one of the best things I've ever made, so you can find it somewhere like on Tinkercad or something, or Thingiverse. Okay, that's Cacao. And it brings us now to 2016's Imhotep. You've played it, Brendan, right?
Yes,
What
absolutely.
can you tell us about
I couldn't
Imhotep?
come on this episode if I hadn't played Imhotep.
Okay, tell
Imhotep
us.
is Phil Walker Harding doing so. Essentially, on Imhotep, you have a simple choice. Everyone has cubes in their own player color, and there's locations that you're trying to get those cubes to. But first, you have to add your cubes to boats that have different numbers of spaces. There's a boat that holds 2 cubes. There's a boat that holds up to 5 cubes, and boats in between. On your turn, you're going to add cubes to a boat, or you're going to choose a boat to go to a location. The locations are different sort of Egyptian-themed spaces like the pyramids or tombs, and where your cubes go in these spaces in terms of timing really matters. So you could potentially gain a lot of points or lose a lot of points based on if your cube is the 4th to go in, or there's ones where I think it is the tomb where you're sort of building out these columns as you go, and you want to just create the largest contiguous group of your color. So if you always fill columns top to bottom, oh, that's another Phil Walker Harding thing. He loves filling columns from top to bottom.
Mhm.
You get to you're trying to align them. So say, if I get my cubes in later in the round on the tomb, I want to do that again later in the round. This one's really interesting because I think like Sushi Go, they're sort of nakedly mathematical games, but they're also intrinsically social games somehow because of the zero-sum nature of the point scoring that's happening in these different spaces, or in Sushi Go with the different types of cards in that limited pool. Imhotep is amazing. It's all a game about how to get other people to do your work, right? How can I put my cubes places and then make sure other people send them exactly to where I want them to go? So like Sushi Go, it really behooves you to pay attention to what other people are doing so that you can tag along or get them to do your work for you. I think Imhotep is one of the best Phil Walker Harding games. For me, this is an S tier game. It's just like incredible. And the 1 to 3 point Phil Walker Harding standard in terms of points, that is so much Imhotep. If you're
Mhm.
scoring 1 point a turn, you are in Misery Town. If you're scoring 3 points a turn, you're living like a pharaoh. That's really the goal of the game, right?
And I'll just say, like, every time you place a stone down, you can reliably get at least 1 point. Maybe on
Yeah.
average 2, maybe on a good turn 3 or 4. But when you sail a ship, you don't place a stone. And so you're not going to score additional points. You're going to take other people's stones and decide which of the locations they go to score those points. And so you have this almost Coloretto decision of, should I place one out, or should I make a key decision about not placing one and instead move them around? I'm going to hold my thoughts a second. Let Chris say first.
This is a game many people accuse Phil Walker Harding of not necessarily having teeth in his designs, right? Sushi Go, no matter what cards you get, you're going to get 1, 2, or 3 points. You know, I mean, almost everything is very kind of like light and fluffy with him is an argument I've heard. And I think that to some degree that's fair. And then you play Imhotep, and that veneer of nicety and niceness is gone. It's a game that I have not played in probably a decade because I had a very rough experience with it. And it's one that I keep thinking I do need to come back to this one, give it a go. With the limited experience that I have had, it's like a C tier game for me, but I know that could be subject to change. So
sure.
It's different for
I understand.
different people.
Next time I see you in a room, we're going to have to play it. Imhotep, you're exactly right. This is where you get this sort of passive interactivity. I never go over and knock the things off of your side of the game board, but I know where I'm going to put your pieces. And sometimes maybe you have a lead in the obelisk, which is majority, and I'm just going to dump more of your pieces over there, and they're going to get you no points. Even if I'm not moving my own pieces, I'm just going to send it that way. The game also comes with, I believe, 2 versions of each thing. So you could play with the A tomb and the B temple and whatever. And then there is the New Dynasty expansion, which adds another 2. There is also several little mini expansions and promos. They're all cool. There's huge variability, and the core system is just so elegant. It's like worker placement in a way where you don't decide the places of your workers. You sort of line them up to go maybe somewhere, but the action economy shifts that some. There's also special cards that will let you break the rules of the game and place a stone and sail it, or decide the order, or do something very weird. This, to me, is God tier Phil Walker Harding. This is the best Phil Walker Harding game that exists. It's his masterpiece. It's incredible. And so we don't have God tier. I'll just have to put it at S tier. I don't know if he'll ever make one this good again. It's truly a masterpiece. Imhotep, builder of Egypt. Okay, there is also one little note to make about Imhotep, and that is that in 2018 he released Imhotep the Duel, which is a 2-player version of this that Bruno Cathala was not involved in. And this one is cool. It sort of inverts the game on its head a little bit. Instead of let's see, you put tiles out in a 3x3 grid with boats sort of on the rows and columns, and you place your workers on the. I'm trying to remember this, but I think you place them on the boats. And am I getting this right? And then you pull the boats off.
You place them in the 3x3 grid.
You do, yes.
And when a column or a row is completely filled in, then you get the rewards of that boat based on the relative position of where your workers are at.
The pieces are on the boats, right? The action, the sort of things you collect are on the boats, and then you place your workers in the middle, and they will unload boats. And so when I put a worker in the very center space of this 3x3 grid, I know that it's gonna unload one of these 2 boats, and maybe it'll unload the first space of that boat, or so it's different. I think it's really clever implementation. I also really like it, and when I play 2-player games, I'll play it often and I'll give it an A tier.
Yeah, I'm at a B tier for this one. I've had better experiences with this one than with regular Imhotep. Like I said, that's still a gap I need to kind of revisit. But I think that the interesting thing about this one is that it does fit really well for this 2-player kind of thing where you don't have perfect control of whether that worker you place is going to unload the boat in the column or in the row, but you do have some amount of control, and there's that little bit of kind of soft bargaining, so to speak, with the opponent you're playing directly with, right? Because you put yourself in a position where you're, where one is clearly more favorable than the other. Well, then they have a lot more control over which way your worker is going to go, column or row. So yeah, I think it's a very clever game, fun. and it retains a little bit of those teeth that I mentioned from base Imhotep.
And like a lot of Phil Walker Harding games, the decision space is completely translucent. You know exactly what the points are worth. You know what the impact of those actions is, pretty much. I know exactly what you're going for. And so, and you know what I'm going for, and you know that I know what you're going for. And there's not a lot of mystery there. One of the mechanisms that I really like here that shows up again later is I think that the way that the tomb works is there's just a set of tiles like 1 to 16, and you're trying to collect tiles in a row numerically. And so if I see that you have 3 and 4, then I would like to steal 5 or 2 from you. And you can do a lot of that. And this will show up in a game later on. Okay, that's our Imhotep little sub dive. Imhotep the card game. I'm curious if it could exist. Maybe I'll have to design it and not. Maybe I'll design it with Phil. We'll see. Who knows? Okay. Phil's next masterpiece. We have Barenpark, his first touch with polyominoes, a theme that's going to show up. And in 2019, the Bad News Bears expansion. We actually did a full deep dive on this show about Barenpark. Am I right, Brendan?
Yeah, we did. You and I together, actually. I think Jake was
I
too.
there? I know that Jake was
you
there.
were there.
Okay, I think you're right. This might have been one of my first ones. I did Star Realms and maybe this. And I know Jake's complaint was about the scoring, but it was really BGA informed. What's clever here in this game is that you have 4, I think they're 4x4 grids. Or you start with one of them, and you're placing polyominoes on it to achieve a number of objectives. One is fill this board in because you're going to get points, and whoever does that fastest gets more points. So there's a sort of race element. And in fact, there's one empty space on the board that you cannot cover, a nice little wrinkle. And that's where the point chip goes when you place it. The big piece here is that the tiles you're able to draft from the board depend on which spaces you cover. That is, you're covering spaces for actions. And so your drafting is tied to your placement in a really important way, especially because the tiles have values that drop. And so you want to draft things early that are good, but then you're setting yourself up for certain shapes that have to be accommodated later. One of the actions you cover will allow you to get more spaces for your board because eventually you're going to need 4 of these things. And then there are public objectives like have 3 pandas. And so you're trying to gobble the pandas before other people do, even though the pandas are dropping in point value. Okay, that's Barenpark. Thoughts, Brendan?
Yeah, the tile set is shared. It's really open. This is, again, a pretty puzzly game where you have a lot of planning. This is also just Calliope Phil Walker Harding, right? It's just fun. It's just light. It's just breezy. You just get to take things, add them to your board, cover things up, and then do something immediately after. Playing Barenpark just is it's a joyful game for me. That is, I don't know. It's just, it offers a nice breezy experience with feel-good moments paced throughout. Filling in each of those boards and sort of adding a new board gives, even for a pretty light game, a nice arc too. And that ebb and flow of trying to surround a bear statue and then fill it in is just that nice, perfect little wrinkle. Barenpark is great. I think that for me, it's in the tier of I'm going to compare this to Patchwork and say I'd rather play Patchwork. But by nature of even comparing it to Patchwork, I feel like I'm putting it into a tier of polyomino games that is very high. This is just, it's great. It's the inverse Patchwork for me, right? Where if Patchwork can be kind of mean and fighty, this doesn't feel that way at all. It's just, it's a breezy afternoon game that you can escape into that's cute. Barenpark's awesome. If I'm giving a number, because Paul, if we're going to get through this, we've got like 70 more games. We got to give our ratings. Yeah, we're going to fly in the post-Golden Age, I think. But for me, this is an A-tier game for Phil.
This is my favorite polyomino game. This is an S tier.
Wow.
It is amazing what it accomplishes to do, as you mentioned and you alluded to, Paul, that it pulls you in so many directions. You want to fill in a tile to get that 16-point bear statue. Someone ought to grab the 16 to 15. Okay, maybe I need to focus on grabbing the large tiles first so that I can complete this other public goal. I'm going to grab one of the 8-point panda tile. It's amazing how much it pulls you in different directions. No tiles have a cost to them, a numerical value, coin cost, or anything like that. It is intrinsically tied to the action that you take of laying down and covering symbols. It's amazing how many things it does right with such a clean rule set. This is one of those games that I'm jealous of. I look
Mm-hmm.
at it and go, this is infuriatingly brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
Barenpark to me.
I feel the same way. This also, I know when I came on the show, I said this is my favorite polyomino game. It's been a little while since I played it, but I don't think there's anything that has really beat it in this polyomino packing space. I think it's miraculous. It's another S tier for me. Quick note on the expansion. The monorails expansion uses the sort of blank green spaces that previously were unleveraged design space in the previous game. And for me, when I play Barenpark, I have plans that I completely screw up and forget about, and it goes badly. I forget what I was trying to do. The monorails take that to a level that is catastrophic. And for people that love the chance to play a game very badly, if you stop your monorail from being able to be connected, it's over for you. So it's one to check out if you like really crazy games. All right. Let's move on. Our last one here in the Golden Age is Gizmos, which I believe you just played, Brendan. Am I right?
I did, yeah. Gizmos is an engine building game where you are drafting pieces of your engine, your gizmo, that really have to do with picking out these different color marbles from a board. So you just draft these different parts of your machines. It's sort of classic Tableau engine builder. If you add this piece to your gizmo, whenever you pick a yellow, you get to pick another piece, that sort of thing. And you're just trying to build a powerful resource sort of point generating engine. Yeah, this to me feels very different than a lot of Phil's other games. It's in some ways more complex than some of his other games, a little bit less clean. He's doing this sort of intimate card piece design that you don't see in a lot of his other games, where there's more going on in these designs than Sushi Go, right? Where the cards are much more straightforward. Gizmos is cool. It feels caught up to me in a very different time for Phil also. I don't know. What do y'all think of Gizmos?
I think this is Phil's Splendor. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
very
Oh, for
inspired by
sure.
that design,
Yeah.
right? There are 4 colors of marble, and there's this cool marble tray that you're pulling them from. And then there's a tableau of like 4 level 1s and 3 level 2s and 2 level 3s. And you're spending those things to get them, and you have certain capacity for how many you can hold. But yeah, he basically takes Splendor and just turns it into this engine building pop off thing. And you're so right that you're doing way more on your turns in this game than essentially any other Phil Walker Harding game I can think of at all. But at the same time, you get this really clean engine ramp feel and you do crazy wild things. And then the game ends, like a lot of engine builders. Being that this is in the Golden Age, this is what I would have considered the top 3 for forever. I haven't played it in a long time, but it's got to go S tier Phil for me.
This is S tier for me as well. I play it regularly and I lose it regularly. Wendy is a shark. My wife Wendy is an absolute like maniac when it comes to this game. When I'm sitting there going like, "Ooh, if I draft a yellow marble, I get to grab 2 from the top." Sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Her engine is like firing on all cylinders every direction. It is very unlike his other work in his oeuvre, I suppose, but it also keeps the fact that it's incredibly clean, despite the fact that your engine feels like it might lose its elegance, and it never does. I think for me, the comparison to Splendor is fine. If Splendor is a white button-up shirt that you wear to the office, then this game is like a pirate costume with a talking parrot on your shoulder. It is Splendor, but fun for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
Brendan always makes food analogies, but now we have like a costume outfit analogy train. We're going to have to start doing that a lot. Okay, well, this brings us to an end of the Golden Age, I would say. But there's a lot of really many more games going on. Of course, it's only 2018 in our point here. Barenpark starts us on a small sequence of games, which I will call the cover-up polyomino games. Again, you're placing polyominoes, but the things you cover up give you some actions, basically. The next one from 2018 is Gingerbread House, which technically polyominoes, but they're just dominoes. And they have obviously 2 symbols on them. Many of them just give you a resource. Some of them will let you collect these characters that you're trying to bring into your gingerbread house. And it's basically a very simple recipe fulfillment game with some public objectives. And I think it's like if you get a double match when you place a domino, you get a little bonus something. This one for me is much less interesting than Barenpark. So really, I'm going to give it a C tier. I'm just not excited to play this one again.
This one is. I like this one, I think, more than a lot of other people. It feels ingenuitive in the fact that you're built, like you're having this nice 3D element as you build up that gingerbread house. And one of the elements of the game is that you can earn these staircase tokens,
Mm-hmm.
which basically, as you're trying to overlap tiles, you can't have an empty
Hang
space.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can put these stairs in there, and you can stack up multiple stairs. It's almost like building scaffolding. I think that it's really clever in that way. This one's a B tier one for me. One that I
Yeah.
champion a little bit more than a lot of other people.
Yeah. I will say I do love the art very much and it is charming. But let's take it a step forward to 2021 with Llamaland. And this is sort of the culmination of this little train in the physical tile space. This time we have entirely pentominoes, 5 squares, and you start with a little square board. And when you place them down, of course, you take actions. Those actions are like getting resources or getting certain kind of cards that give you powers. And then you're always turning in like 4 of a resource to get a point card. Very simple. Sometimes you're placing on these scoring objectives publicly, which is cool. But it has 2 really interesting things. I mean, the first non interesting thing is that there are just 5 piles and you just choose one to take, which is sort of a natural way to say, here are your options, just take. But if you want to cover up spaces, you kind of need to play onto the table in order to sort of get wide and have things you can cover. But when you do that, you don't cover any spaces. So that's already interesting. As you build this thing up, it looks awesome. But when you score an objective, you have to take a little llama token and put it on your board somewhere. And then that llama token, apart from looking awesome, blocks your ability to play more tiles. And so you sort of, it's not quite a catch up mechanism, but it's this really interesting way to tie the scoring and the actions to the tile placement. It's sort of a next level. And for me, I think it's actually, I know I said Barenpark was my favorite polyomino game, but now I might have to say it's Llamaland because I do think this is the best of the sequence. So I have to give it S tier.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. I find this one feels too iterative of both Gingerbread House and Barenpark. And it could simply be the fact that it came out third in the sequence of those 3 games. So I like it. I do really enjoy it, but it's kind of like a lower B tier for me because it's the
Okay.
one that I kind of forget to come back to because I hold the other 2 in such high esteem. And yeah, the particular things that make this one unique don't stand out as much as the things that make it feel similar.
Yeah, that's true. It does upend the tile drafting placement connection, which is really the slick and elegant thing. And going off what you said, Barenpark is the game I would rather have designed. So it
Mm.
goes to a more elite status that way. But I do remember saying over and over and over that this was my favorite of those 3. So I got to leave it at S. Not one you've played, Brendan?
Not one I've played. It sounds like I should though.
Yeah, it's a cool one. I
Silver
bet
and
you've
gold.
played some of the next ones. Yeah, we start to get into polyomino flip and right territory, and there's a long line of these flip and rights. We have silver and gold pyramids, explorers, super mega lucky box is not that tile placement stuff. We'll get into those later. But silver and gold pyramids, everyone has cards that they are trying to cover up squares on. You flip cards over, and it gives you a polyomino to do. In silver and gold, you're trying to just complete cards, and there are some actions that you're covering that will give you, I don't know, coins, silver. They'll give you some scoring based on what symbols are visual, like available, visible. Couple of other things, but silver and gold pyramids actually, you have a starting location and you're trying to make your way to the exit of a pyramid. But if you want along the way, you can do some little side jaunts to get these actions. I think silver and gold pyramids is the better of the 2, and I'm going to put it at B tier because I just, I don't play it that much.
Silver and Gold's, I think, very very clever. ends up being, I think it's a system that ends up being cleaned up a little bit with Super Mega Lucky Box. Uh, I mean, you can see the comparisons there. For me, Silver and Gold's a B. It at one point was one of my favorite kind of like roll and write or flip and write type
Yeah.
games. I think but and some of that is literally the charm of the fact this is the first game that said, "Hey, you have dry erase cards,
Dry erase cards,
mark on them."
That's right.
And how cool is that? And so that since is the specialty of that's worn off a little bit, but it's still I think a very solid game.
Brendan, not one you've played?
No, I've played Silver and Gold. It's breezy. It's nice. It's a little. It's simple.
It's zero interactivity, I think, is one knock that you could put on it relative to many of his other games. Okay, Explorers is a sort of successor where I can't remember the exact details, but you're flipping up cards. I guess it's not quite polyomino, but you're flipping out cards with certain terrain types, and you can cover up the active player can cover up like 3, and other people can cover up 3 if they choose the same one, or less if they choose the other one on the card. And you're trying to complete a number of objectives like reach temples, or I don't even remember, get around certain villages or something. It has more variable scoring, I think, than Silver and Gold. And it's probably the better game design, but there's something so simple and breezy and charming about Silver and Gold that it's probably the better game. So I'll just leave them both at B tier for me. Did I say B tier for Silver and Gold? I hope
you
so.
did.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel similarly about Explorers. I really enjoy the game. I think I enjoyed it more on first blush, and then after kind of many repeat plays, because I did play it a lot. There was an app version. There's kind of a bare bones app. I played a lot on there, and it's fun. But despite the fact that it has tons of variability, it doesn't necessarily. It's not the most significant feeling variability. It's a little bit more variability in name and in presentation than in actual gameplay. It's a very good game. Not the slickest looking by any means.
Agree.
Yeah, but solid. I like it. B tier.
Brendan, yes or no?
No, never played it.
Very good. We
Pass
have
me
Tetris,
by.
2021's Tetris. This comes to us, I think, from Buffalo Games, and the production was a disaster. It is really, it should be amazing. It has this plastic thing that stands upright and awesome sort of blockist style polyominoes, and it's basically, it is the game. You can see what tile is coming. It flips it over. Everybody drop an L in. Everybody drop a square in, and you're trying to make lines. Why this is in the polyomino like cover up for actions? There's some spaces where you're trying to match actions or get an additional single tile. It's Tetris. I really liked it at first, but they actually, God, it's just on the plastic thing. There's this like sticker they put on it for you to see the tiles you need to place, and they put it on the back. And so you can't see them when you place something in, and so you can't count them at the end of the game. And something about the way they did it makes it so that the pieces are like flipped in the way that they shouldn't be. Like the end piece is like, the other one. You know how there's those 2 zigzag pieces? It's a mess. The game was good. I actually like playing the game. It felt very much like Tetris, but it's like, I don't know. I guess it's got to be D tier because there's some good C tier games I've said.
Did not play this one, unfortunately. I've heard too much of the production mistakes.
Oh, just disaster. And then they have another one coming out, which I thought was not even Phil Walker Harding. It's called Tetris the Board Game, but it's the same game with different stuff, and it's way more take that mean. I can drop stuff in your Tetris board. I'm sure I'll hate it. I'm giving it a D tier. Is there an F tier? I'm sure I'll hate it.
Tetris without the anxiety of filling up to the top and trying to remove layers.
That's right.
If we're gonna do
ends when you get to the top, but it's just.
Agreed.
I'm gonna pull out my NES and we're gonna play some Tetris.
That's how I
feel about this one. Yeah.
Okay.
But Monolith 2022.
2020.
You played this one, Phil. Paul.
Yeah, I've played Monolith a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Okay.
This is polycube packing. Everyone is going to make like a 4x4x3 Monolith, or maybe 4x4x4, depending on player count. And there is sort of a patchwork style ring of these blocks, and you get to go a few spaces forward and take it and put it on your thing. They're different colors. A couple of interesting things. You can either take a piece or take an objective, and the objective is like have 10 of the same color showing on this side of the monolith. And if you can do that, you get 10 points. I think maybe if you can't, you lose points. I don't know. But those are drafted. And so you can call your shot. You must call your shot, essentially. Um, there's also ways to get just little single cubes, which can be useful. The game does something really unique that I've never seen before. We're all building up, trying to build up, like Barenpark. When you finish a level, you get bonus points. We're racing for those, but it has an objective card that is like, along the way, build this. Like, have it so that everything is level 1 except for the corners. And so if you want to hit that and get like the 10 or whatever points that it is, you have to sort of like throttle yourself back on the building. And so it's like sort of race as fast as you can to the top, but kind of go slow through this turn and hit it with some finesse to get the thing looking really right. And so this is another CMON game, I think. The presentation is awesome on it. I really like playing it. And so I will give this A tier.
I'm a little bit lower. I'm at a B tier. It's another one of those games that is iterative. It uses some of the same scoring systems that on a game we'll talk about here shortly, Neoville. But I think it kind of does a lot of the things better, and it feels like it was kind of iterations from an earlier game that wasn't as good, I think.
Yeah.
And in part of that, I kind of forget to pull this one out, play it. But every time I do, I really enjoy it. It does feel unique. And I love trying to make that whole, the whole left side of my cube have nothing but as many blue squares as possible. It makes you think about that 3D Tetramino type thing in a pleasantly different way.
Yeah, it is. It is unique. Okay. Couple more flipping rights to move through. We have Super Mega Lucky Box, Scribbly Gum, and Koala Rescue Club. Koala Rescue Club comes from Postmark Games, which I think is Matthew Dunstan's sort of like just print and play thing. I haven't played it, but you essentially play polyominoes to cover a space so that on top of those polyominoes, you can play more polyominoes to rescue koalas. Haven't played it. Have you played it quickly?
It's pleasant. Yeah.
Sure.
I'd probably give it like a C tier just because it doesn't really stand out compared to a lot of the others. I'd rather come to silver and gold and everything, but it's nice.
Scribbly Gum comes from his new imprint, which is called Joey Games. It focuses on Australian stuff, and the Scribbly Gum is some insect that climbs on a thing and leaves a trail. And this is a simultaneous flip and right thing where you're collecting resources. Very simple. It's like a family game. I played it and I thought it was pretty fun, but there's almost nothing there. So it's like C tier.
I don't know why this one speaks to me so much.
You like it?
I really like this. Is my favorite of the Joey games that have come out. And it's not the best game, but it's my favorite. It speaks to me on a very childish level. Ooh, I like making the worm go here and eat that berry. So it's an A for me.
Awesome.
But I like it more than anyone else I've ever played it with, including at the time, I think my daughter was like 7. And I was like, hey kid, want to play this one again? She's like, maybe.
I love that. That's cool. And he did some interesting, unique things with like, oh, this one's going to be the dashed line. So you can go like way over here. But the last one here on the flip and rights that we should talk about is Super Mega Lucky Box, which is basically it's bingo. You have 3x3 grids with numbers on them, and then there's a deck of cards you flip through to mark those things off. And when you complete a row, you get a bonus action. When you complete a column, you get a bonus action. And if you complete a card, you get points and a new card. It works surprisingly well for what it is. There's something really. He came up with some really unique things out of bingo, and I'm gonna give it a B tier ranking.
Have you played it, Brendan?
I have played it. Yeah. I think this is also a game right game. So this is Phil in game right. I think trying to do for what they did for Sushi Go. If Dominion is to Sushi Go, as Super Mega Lucky Bucks is to flip and write games, I think it a little for me is a little bit of a miss. I lose a lot of the joy of other flip and write games where I'm making novel decisions. And to here, I don't know. There was no Super Mega for me. It just felt Lucky Bucks.
He retains the pop-off combo mode of like, okay, I finished this line, so I get a 2, which I can put over here to finish this line, which gives me a 3, and I'll put that over here. I think it's in the Gone Strong Clever sort of era of these games.
Sure.
Yeah. But it doesn't, I don't know, there's other things in a flip and write you are looking for.
This gets huge points for me for just simple accessibility. I give it an A because I have played this with groups of people who are intimidated to play any other game. And I still have as much fun as I do, despite the fact that we're basically playing a bingo. But as soon as someone fills in a row for the first time and they get a bonus 7 and they use it to go over here and they fill in a column to get 2 stars, like that set collection monkey brain part of their mind just goes, I like this more. So
yeah,
totally. A tier for me.
And the art comes from Serge Seidlitz, who I got to do the art for Super Sizewise from Gamehead. So, all right,
cool.
This concludes the flip and writes space. Now we have a couple of party games to discuss. This is not Phil's expertise in my sense, in my opinion. Sushi Go Party, I would not actually consider a party game, but we have Platypus in 2021, Snakes in 2021, and Don't Fall For It in 2024. Platypus is basically Phil's code names, I would say. Maybe there's a number of like word cards, and you play adjective cards to try to like match them up and have people guess. It's like a total miss for me. It's a D. I don't want to play it again. I'll give all of mine. You can come through. Snakes is like his hidden trader game, social deduction game, where someone, I can't remember the exact details. I think there's a card that has a question and it's multiple choice answers. And someone knows the answer but doesn't want it to be guessed, right? And then there's someone who is like, everybody knows is trying to solve it, and you vote. Something like that. It's very simple and very fast. I guess it's C. It's better than Platypus, certainly, but I'm not. No, it's got to be D tier. There's some good C games. This is just bad. And lastly, Don't Fall For It, I actually like. This is a game with a sort of cube tower. You have these popsicle sticks in this cube tower, and you drop these cubes in on it, and you have a card that says like Olympic events, previous Olympic events, and there's like a lot of them. Maybe there's 20 on the card and they're sort of hidden. But like 7 of them are fake. And so like you don't know if solo synchronized swimming is a real event or not. And so you choose one to pull off and to reveal and hope that it's accurate. And if it's not accurate, you have to like pull one of these sticks out of the thing and hope that the cubes don't fall, because if the cubes fall, then you might get so many that you lose. But the cards are really interesting. And by the way, solitaire synchronized swimming is a real event, as was equestrian. I can't remember these things. They were hilarious. Don't Fall For It. It's a great game. I'm going to give it a B tier. I pull it out and play it a lot.
I've not tried. That's one I haven't tried. And that sounds cool. And I like that gimmick of the cube tower, pulling the sticks out, very, very...
yeah. And it's a team game, I should say. It's a team game, back and forth.
I think I agree with your assessment of the other party games. Maybe I would give Snakes like a C tier, but no, I'm not too far off from you. It's funny, but I'm not invested in the trivia and everything either.
Yeah. All right, so that's about the same there. And of course, Brendan hasn't played these. That's fine. We do have a number of drafting games in the oeuvre. We've talked about pick and pass closed drafting of Sushi Go. There's also Planted, a game of nature and nurture, which I believe is a pick and pass drafting game. You're taking resource cards. You're spending resource cards to get plant cards, which score points in a number of different ways. Of course, they need resources like water in order to sort of fill them up to their point generating level. They sort of like ramp up as they grow, I guess you could say. There's some private objectives, but it's mainly this drafting. You can also get some um, like combo stuff, some engine building things where now every time I take a sun token, I get 2 sun tokens, and that can feel good. The production on this thing from Buffalo I thought was insane. It's got these acrylic sun pieces and water drops, and I got this thing for $20, which Target later made it 30 because I think they realized this is insane. Um, it's good. It's not great. It's C tier for me.
It's a B tier card drafting game for me. I like that extra little choice of, do you take the card that you draft, or do you use it as going to market that turn?
Yeah.
And it has a little number in the corner where you kind of, if multiple people go to market, you use that card as the tiebreaker determiner for that. So I think it does a few things nicely. It's a very pleasant, I think it's a well produced game. But I will go to Sushi Go way sooner than it. But I do like it, especially uniquely with that theme, house plans.
Yeah, it's very charming, and it's one that actually showed up a lot more. He's ahead of the curve with that. Another Joey game is Pass the Party Food. This is actually, maybe it's not really a pick and pass drafting game, but this is a co-op pick and pass drafting game. I guess I get 3 cards, and I keep one for myself, and I give one to each of my neighbors. Am I getting that right, Chris?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not sure I have actually played this one, so I will not rate it.
I've played this one. It's my least favorite of the Joey games. It's a D tier for me. Unfortunately, it's cute because it has it celebrates things like fairy bread and other little Australian like classic treats and stuff. I wish I liked the game more. So yeah, D tier.
Then we have Dungeons and Dragons: Edge of the Realms. You are building a 4x4 grid, something Phil does a lot of, and it feels a bit. It's a little like Stone Spine Architects in that way. The things you're doing were not that exciting to me, and you have to go sort of left to right, and then in the next row, right to left. You have to sort of fill in your squares in this prescribed way. I played it once. The theme didn't really pop off. The scoring mechanisms were not terribly exciting. I don't know. It's really D tier for me. I don't want to play it again.
Same. I'm with you. And the production is a mess, and the theming is very strange on it. It's themed in a way that doesn't help the already kind of abstracted scoring mechanisms and stuff that aren't very fun. So yeah, D tier, unfortunately.
Yeah. Now there is some other games in his oeuvre that are open drafting, where you're probably taking from a central space into your own area. One good example would be my Shelfie. Which is a sort of inside the hobby thing, but you have a central grid of these tiles of different types, like books or furniture or whatever, and they're basically just colors. And on your turn, sort of mahjong style, you can access, I think, 3 on the outside edge that are in a row. And when you take them, you place them in your personal grid, your Shelfie, but they have to be like supported, I think. So you're sort of building out columns as you go. And then there's a couple of objectives. You want to have like large areas of the same color, but you also have a card, sort of like Role Player, where you want certain colors in certain spaces. Did I get all of that right?
Yeah, and then there's some additional objectives too that you have that sort of say, have these tiles in this exact sort of arrangement on your grid.
Right.
Yeah. So it really is lots of overlaid scoring objectives all at once, sort of tiling out a plane with 1x1 tiles. I like this one. I think it's pleasant. It's good. It's good puzzly fun where you're trying to juggle maybe one too many things in a pleasant way, where you're forced to sort of say, am I still pursuing this? Is it worth sort of sacrificing and picking maybe a suboptimal group of tiles so that I can accomplish this objective? Will those still be on the board when it comes back to me? Will they not? I like my Shelfie. It's cute. It's fun. And it's columns. Phil's got a thing for columns.
Got
a thing for
columns.
columns.
This is on Board Game Arena?
Yeah, this is.
Yep. Yeah, I like the open draft of it too. I would put this in probably the B tier, where as you draft, you physically are opening up those spaces, avenues for other players. I like that bit of soft but there interaction.
Agreed. And you can sort of like separate areas from each other. And then if that happens enough times, the round ends. I agree. Also, B tier. That's one that's worth checking out. I think there's also a roll and write version of this, but that is not a filler. The next one is a really unique one that is a two-player only game that shares a little bit of DNA with Imhotep the Duel, with what I said about the tomb. This is Tanis. Tanis is pretty weird. It comes from Eagle Griffin Games, I think, and you have like a box of domino tiles, chunky wooden domino tiles. Jake would love it. And they have symbols on both sides with numbers, I think. And you have this little plastic stick that you can use to pull them out of this box. And you can see like one half of a tile at one point. And so I'm gonna uncover something that maybe you'll go for. And you're trying to get like runs of the same color, basically, and trying not to break each other up, or trying intentionally to break each other up. Extremely unique table presence. It's kind of a pain in the ass to put together. You have to like get all the pieces in this box and flip the box over. But it's what I bring out actually a surprising amount on two-player game. You know, it's a bit of an activity. There's certainly teeth in there. It's take that, but it's another B tier for me. Tanis, unique, pretty fun, but not his best, certainly.
Not played it, no.
No,
Yeah.
no. We're coming into the rares. Okay, here's one. Very under the radar. Yummy World Party at Picnic Palace, which I believe comes off of some sort of wacky IP. Have you played it, Chris?
I've not. No, this is one of those that I would
Oh,
like to
boy.
hunt down a copy of.
I actually saw a copy at, I don't remember where. I probably have a second one. Maybe I'll give it to you. But Yummy World Party at Picnic Palace is Phil Walker Harding's Coloretto. There are rows of cards, and you either flip one or spend one of your invitations to take a row. And you have like 3 invitations for the round, maybe. And the cards do very standard Sushi Go things. They have funny names like, what are they? Frankenburger or something, or I don't know. It's eggs and who knows. It's a good game. I like this. I'm probably more likely to play this than Coloretto, actually. Coloretto's incredible, but I don't know. I'm so tempted to give this an A tier, but I can't. It's a B tier game. Check it out, though. I mean, if you like Coloretto, I think it's worth it. Kids love it. It's good.
Nice.
It's Yummy World Party at Picnic Palace. Okay. Busy Beaks is the third of the Joey games that have come out so far. And this is a little bit Phil Walker Harding's Rummy in a way. There are all of these different bird types, and I believe there's a whole box of them, and you can put some out game to game, Dominion style. And you're like, I don't remember the exact rules. It's been a while since I played it, but you're drawing and swapping from your hand and putting them in a display, trying to play large sets of cards for points. Chris, I know you've played this. Tell us more.
Yeah, I think it's really solid where you are doing the thing where you're trying to either play the birds out for like sets and for scoring, or they have actions associated with them.
Oh,
And
that's
so,
right.
And so as you play those out for actions, you're giving up a good card, hopefully with the intent of getting more good other stuff to score. And I think that for being a kids game, there's some nice little depth to it. Of the 3 Joey games that first came out, and I think now there's maybe
Oh, there's Wombat Poo, which I don't even know
Wombat
if was
Poo.
on this list.
It is.
Yeah.
It's going to be further up ahead, I think.
Okay,
Um,
good.
And then the Koala Club. But yeah, of the 3 like main boxes that came out first, I think this is the most robust game. Shockingly,
Cool.
so it's a big step up from the other 2. And
Definitely.
I really like it. I think it has good card play, cards with powers, but in a very understandable way. It's a B tier for me, but I know that my wife, it's like one of her favorites actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This for me, I played it and I thought, okay, I remember the powers being a little confusing to remember, maybe with the iconography and the setup. Teardown was a little annoying with the separating. I don't know. It's a C tier for me, but I should give it another go. I mean, if Wendy loves it and she loves heavy games, maybe there's some meat in there. All right, well, that is Busy Beaks. I will say I think the next game is slightly an iteration on that, and this is All In Predictions, a game from 2026, maybe. It just came out with really amazing art, I will say that. And this is maybe Phil Walker Harding's the gang, kind of. It's funny because it's not unreasonable to call this a competitive the gang, even though a competitive the gang is co-op poker, so competitive
Hey,
the
that's
game
just
is
poker.
poker. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not. And let me explain how. This is a hand building game. You have a hand of 5 cards and a display of cards in front of everyone in the center of the table. And it's 5-card draw. So you basically are going to play a card for its action. And the actions will be like draw 2 and keep 1, or reveal some cards face up, or look at someone else's hand. We'll come to that in a moment. Take some things from the display, but in the end, the card you've played is going to go into the display, and you'll discard down to 5 cards. So there's this rummy style discard and draw action thing going on, but you're doing 2 things. One, you're building a good hand for yourself, because the better hand you build, the more points it's worth. Period. You want to build a good hand. But you also want to predict which player at the table will have the best hand, because that person, not that person, but the people that accurately predict the winner will split the pot. So one of the key actions in the game is I can say, Brendan, what is your hand? And you will say, I have a 3 of a kind. Or I'll say, Chris, what is your hand? And he'll say, I have nothing, not even a pair. But maybe a minute later, he'll have a straight flush. It's cool. It's fast. It's fun. If you like poker, it's good. I'm going to give this A tier. I really like All In Predictions. It's one of my favorite games in the last 12 months, which is a time where I've not been that excited about a lot of games.
I think this is one of Phil's strongest games to come out in a little while, actually. It's
Yeah.
very, very fast-paced poker, 30-minute poker. I grew up playing
In
a lot
3
of
rounds.
poker. Yeah, 3 rounds, right? And poker nights can be such an all-night affair.
Mhm.
And this kind of distills it down. It loses some of the bluffing and everything, and instead it gives you more opportunity to finally craft your hand of cards. One game, I had 2 straight flushes in a row. You know what I mean? You're going to have way better hands than in poker. And so this like emphasizes the card play part of it more. And so, yeah, it's like a fun, splashy version of poker. And you're right, though. It is a little bit of a riff off of what he does with Busy Beaks, actually.
Yeah, which is really cool. And you're giving up cards for their actions. You can see what people are getting rid of. You pay a lot of attention to what's left in the deck, because you cycle through a huge chunk of the deck. Whereas in 5-card draw, you really don't, because that variability is going to wash out as you play 50 hands in the night. This
Yeah.
really gets it done much more quickly, which we'll see again in Misfit Heroes. There's another mechanism here, which is going all in. And if you go all in, you lock in your hand. No one can ask you any more questions about what's in it or what you have or anything. You lock in, and then the game also speeds up a little bit faster towards the end. But this is a really fun thing, because sometimes you can sort of faint at having a really good hand and go all in early, and people will put their bet on you, but you can bet on the one person that you actually know will win and just take all the pot. It's really, I don't know, it's a really clever thing. Okay, some slightly different games here. I actually just got 3 Phil Walker Harding games last week. 2 of them came from the Mojito trio. This one is Tropicalia, which, as I understand, Phil took, I think he said 10 years he worked on this game. It's on the larger side for what he's got going on, and you have a 4x4 grid of action tiles. Some of them will give you resources. Some of them will let you trade resources for points. Some of them will get you upgrades, a little bit of engine building or special one-time stuff. The mechanism, though, is you place your workers on the outside of the grid on a row or column. And after everyone has played, you go around moving them from the border into a space and taking that action. So you're sort of action drafting the edge spaces, and then worker placement from there into the middle. And so there's only so many people that can go to certain spaces. The order of that second draft is really very interactive. And that's the coolest part about the game. Everything else is pretty dull. You get not points, but you get shells that you turn in for these tiles that you put in your personal grid. Those give you points. But all of that stuff is a pretty weak development, I think, on what was a really neat mechanism. Honestly, I'm gonna give it B tier just because I like that draft, but everything else is pretty milk toast.
I haven't gotten to try this one, and that's kind of what I've heard so far.
Yeah, I like the art. It's Niad, I think is their name. It's gorgeous. Cool production, but sadly misses the mark. The other one that I got and have not played is Sinister Institute. Have you played that one, Chris?
No, I haven't gotten a chance to do that one
Not
either.
yet. This is a
Oh,
co-op game, which is pretty rare for Phil. Looks pretty run of the mill. I'm not too excited. And the other one is 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is a one versus all game. Have you played that, Chris?
no, I've watched it played. One of my coworkers reviewed it, and
Yeah.
it seems like it's very approachable, but
Yeah.
not much meat on the bones there.
Yeah, it doesn't excite me, and I've opened that rule book a bunch of times and just set it down. We'll get there. Okay, couple other ones here. Some interesting ones in this sort of open drafting category. One is Museum Suspects, which is, let's say, Phil's Clue. It's a deduction game where you're trying to figure out who solved this thievery. They stole something out of this museum, and you look at characters, I believe, that will give you information about who could have done such and such. Like it's not somebody that's wearing a hat, or it's not somebody on the right side of the board. And so as you look, you get a little information. You're trying to deduce things, but there's also, you're like placing tiles that are bets, I think, on who you think did the crime. And so at the end of the game, you will get points based on those placements, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and then you're also sort of like, if you want to look at information that somebody else has, you have to play like a higher chip. So it's interactive. One of the really cool things that I like in this game is that it's possible no one, like the set of clues could be such that there's no one who could have done it. Which obviously, like if you don't have a perfectly set up thing, a perfectly set up system, that could happen. And if that happens, you have to bet on like they got away. And it's just a really clever, slick way to solve that problem. So B tier Phil right there.
It's a B tier for me as well, because the inverse of what you say is that I love the fact that it could be no one. You have to bet on the got away tile. It could also be 3 or 4 different people.
It could. It could be a whole team.
Yeah, who all fit the conditions, the randomized 8 conditions out there, and you only really get to look at, I think, 4 or 5 of them in the whole game.
That's
So
right.
you have to intuit based on what other people are doing. That person's betting high on people with the yellow background. Why?
Yeah.
Things like
Right.
that. This
Right.
to me is the family weight version of the game Spectral from Ryan Courtney and Bitewing Games.
Okay. Sure.
I don't know if you've played that one or not, but that one's like a meatier, thinkier,
Yeah.
similar type of a thing. And both have a good place for people who like deduction.
And it's got, a good look on the table. I think it's really cool. Museum Suspects. Okay, now we get into one of his newest titles and another little run of games for Phil, which is Personal Square Tile Grid Builders. Okay, we already talked about Dungeons and Dragons Edge of the Realm, where you're building a little 4x4 grid. It's happening in Tropicalia. And the one I want to talk about next is Cities and Cities USA. In this one, it's kind of to call it worker placement is a little odd. You're drafting 4 types of things each round. You're drafting a new tile, you're drafting some building pieces, you're drafting a feature that will go on some tiles, and you're drafting a scoring objective. And the worker placement part is you're going to draft each of those in an order of your choosing. And so I might take a tile first, but you decide to go get the good building pieces first. And you're building a little 3x3 grid, I think it is. And while you have a ton of these personal objectives that are going to score you a lot of points in different ways, I need buildings that are blue, I need buildings that are 3 tall, I need gigantic water features or whatever. But then you also have each game these city tiles in the that are public objectives. And so if we're playing New York right now, we want to build a Broadway and we want to build the Empire State Building or something. But when we go to Lisbon, it's a whole different deal. I really like cities, but I think it's probably B tier for me. We'll compare it to Cities USA here in a minute. Have you played it, Brendan?
I have played Cities. It the presentation of Cities is really nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Turn game to game of cities, it feels pretty similar. Even
Yeah.
though you have the different scoring objectives that you mentioned, Paul, you're always sort of doing the same things on every turn. So it feels I don't know, nothing. I was really excited to like cities. This is also a Steve Finn design, the designer of
Yes.
Biblios,
Yes.
a co-design between the two of them, and I very much like Biblios. So when I saw cities, I was pumped. I don't need to go back to cities. I feel like
Yeah.
I've seen what I need to see.
Hmm.
Chris, how about you?
This is an A tier for me because I think
Oh, okay.
I think that the tension is like constant in this game. We're just sitting there thinking, okay, I have to, draft from the 4 different categories. I can't repeat. It's not like I can just say this round I just need to get a lot of tiles. So you have to break up the things that you take from, and so you're constantly having shifting priorities. Where do I grab from before other people take the stuff that I need? And so I think that's
Yeah.
where the excitement round to round comes. Is you're
Right.
doing the
Yeah.
same thing 8 times, but it's so player driven, and I think I find that really delightful. So yeah, Cities A tier for me.
Very cool. Now, Cities USO, I've played once. This is the follow up, and it is way harder, brainier. Have you played it, Chris?
I have,
Cities
yeah.
USA. Yeah, they have these streets which break up these districts, and the tile drafting is way more important. Um, it's just like I found it really hard to even play because it was so challenging. One thing I liked though is in cities you almost get too many scoring objectives. And in Cities USA, some of the cards that you get, I don't think are scoring objectives in the same way. I could be wrong, but at the very least, they felt like they layered on top slightly differently.
Yes.
Really, really challenging version of the game, and I think I like it less. I'm gonna give it C tier, but it's hard to say which one I'd pull out.
They're both at A tier for me, and I agree. I think the thing that really benefits Cities USA is a much better 2-player game. The original Cities was not very good at 2. The tension was barely there. The tension that I said is like the driving force of that game.
Yeah.
And so, because of the little added complexities, actually not even little, because of the many added complexities in Cities USA, I think it's a better 2-player game. And if I had 3 or 4 players, I would go to the original. Is probably, but I would agree with your assessment 100%. The cards are much better. The importance of the cityscape and all of that.
Yeah.
Chris,
Well, this is actually go ahead.
well, I was just saying, Chris, hearing you talk about cities makes me want to go back to it, but it also makes me appreciate that one of the things that Phil does in so many of his games is just simple sequencing problems, right? This is something you have to do. This is something you have to do. The game is when do you do it? You see it in
Yeah.
Barenpark.
Yeah, I was gonna
Mhm.
say.
It's coming here. My Shelfie has that. A lot of his game. Imhotep is obviously that.
Imhotep for sure.
That is the heart beating inside Imhotep. And I think that's really interesting. Like, here's some homework. Everyone do it. The challenge is when do you do what?
Yeah.
Is a novel Phil sort of designed kickoff point.
Even back all the way to Archaeology, his first design, it's like, do I pull the trigger now to play these parchment scraps, or do I hold out and try and try? He's very good at that, very good at timing. Okay, this cities is actually the final one of this sort of like personal square tile grid builders. He has 2 other really interesting ones. You mentioned Neoville. This is where you have I think you're going to build a 4 by 4 grid, and each of the squares has 4 sections with colors. And basically, you're trying to build regions of certain sizes. And so when you place a tile, you can draft one of the buildings. So I could draft a green building to put on a green space, and it says 10. And I will score those 10 points if I can make that region at least 10 size, 10 squares big. And you can do that for all the colors from a personal drafting, a bit like, as you said, Monolyth. There's also game to game, you mix in different like specialty features, like this one will score based on whatever's in its row or column, or this scores some other way. I like this one. I think the puzzle of the tile laying is quite interesting, and maybe more interesting to me than cities. So it's a sneaky A tier for me. I like Neoville.
That's surprising. That's cool. I would give it a C tier because I like the aspects of it, but it's not one that inspires me to come back to it very often. And I do feel like some of the things have been iterated better in cities, in Monolith and everything. This was like a cool experiment almost to see if these systems work. And then they were put in more fun games or things that utilize those same elements in more interesting ways for me. Not saying that's what he did, but that's going through his work. That's how I felt.
Sure. Well, the next one here from 2020 is Cloud City. And this was a really well loved game from that year. It was high on a lot of people's end of the year list. Another one where you're building a 3x3 or 3x4 grid. The squares are broken into four sections of different colors. This one has a crazy spatial puzzle where the red spaces have to have, you put this like building on it that is three spaces tall, and the greens are two tall and the blues are one tall. And if you get them three squares apart from each other in the same row, you take one of these little uh, cardboard tiles, a bridge, whatever, sky bridge, and you lay it across the two of them, and it's worth points. The longer it is, the more points it is. But the the bridges will block off certain places where you could put other buildings, and the buildings, of course, block the bridges. And you're trying to keep this thing working so that you can elegantly flow these things across each other and below each other and complete certain special objectives that are going to be pretty darn hard. It's one of his hardest spatial puzzles. It has the sort of monorail system that's in Barenpark with these things. Um, but it's really an engaging puzzle. There's basically no interactivity at all in this game apart from taking these tiles from the public supply, but the puzzle of it is crazy hard, and it looks unbelievable on the table, even if it's a little fiddly because sometimes the pieces fall off. So I'm gonna give it an A tier just for the puzzle of it. It's one of his best puzzly tile layers.
This one is, I think that, so coming back to about cities, I think one of the things I like about that is both a good puzzle game, but the action driving of that game is so much
Mm,
more enticing than Neoville and
for sure.
than this one. And so it's a B tier for me because I love the puzzle. It's one of my favorite. It's one of the most Instagrammable,
Yeah, oh,
picture friendly
100%.
games. You just watching and seeing what people have made by the end when you have all these crisscrossing sky bridges is amazing. I wish that the tile drafting part of it was more
Yeah.
exciting, but sometimes a game is better served by having a very simple gathering system because the puzzling system is where you want most of your brain power going. So yeah, B tier, solid B tier for me.
I'm curious how much of his stuff he does real development work on, like how much of it's finished when he hands it to them or they change. I'll have to ask him at some point. Phil has a couple of like tableau building games, kind of the very popular style that we see Wingspan. He recently released Misfit Heroes, which I would say is Phil's Wingspan in a way. Um, Ostensibly you are taking cards and paying their costs to put them in the grid before you and popping off their actions to score based on your grid and different things. Some will give you ongoings. The little gimmick twist here is that all the cards have a backing piece and a transparency that goes on the top, sort of card crafting style, to create a unique combination like the genius centaur or the devilish fairy or the architect governor or whatever. And that means that my deck is completely unique from yours, Brendan. And game to game, I mix those things up a little bit. So it's always changing, but not in like a dramatic way that really shapes gameplay. It is an awesome gimmick, though, and the art's fantastic. I actually really enjoy Misfit Heroes. I think we played it like several times in a row, not in a row, but weeks in a row. So I give it an A tier.
I haven't tried this one yet. I'm very keen to, very, very interested in it because of that hook, that gimmick. Sounds nice.
It is really, really cool to look at these cards. And like also, as I was going, like you could put some together for yourself. Like I got a promo card that was Phil Walker Harding, and so I made him the genius game designer. That's a card that's in my deck that I'll probably always keep there. That was really fun. And the other one that I included in this category is Spellbook. I would say that Spellbook is another version of Splendor for him. There's a little display of these colored tiles that you're drafting, and you're using them to basically complete cards in front of you of different colors. But we all have the same tableau of cards in front of us, and they, once completed, offer us ongoing abilities, typically, or maybe they're scoring objectives. And there's a building up of, do I want to do this now at its lower level or do it at a higher level? I don't remember too much about the gameplay outside of that. There is one little thing where you can sort of dump resources onto your player board just to kind of ramp up and get points. What do you think of this one, Chris?
I think this one is a game that's better served on Board Game Arena because
Mm,
of the unfortunate need to constantly be drawing tiles, placing them on the little display board, wiping
yeah.
those when it gets to a certain point, redrawing back to 3. There's a lot of physical maneuvering. It is, and with the game Gizmos, people don't underappreciate per se the all of the upkeep, the managerial work
Yeah.
that marble track takes care of. This game suffers from not having something that's quasi automated like that.
Yeah.
But I actually end up playing it more on Board Game Arena, and I like it more on there. It lacks a little bit of whiz bang, but it is also fun to see that everyone has the same 8 cards in front of them or the same tableau, but they're all off. And like you said, so at what point and in what order do people turn on and activate those spells? Something kind of Brendan alluded to earlier, right? You have all the
Yeah.
same tools there, but just when, and when and
Hmm.
in what order. So I think that you still see a lot of those signature elements of it. It's a B tier for me. I think it's
Yeah.
a solid one.
And Brendan, you've
Chris,
played this.
I have played it. It's been a while. Chris, will you remind me? It's a race to the end. Is that right? Or
If
points?
there are points, and then it is the end
Certainly
game
an
is
end game
activated.
trigger.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
someone has activated all of their spells, or when someone fills in that their personal board and gets the
And so,
point.
and you're getting points from the personal board, and some of the cards are giving you points. And I think that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah. I didn't dislike this game. It just didn't leave a huge impression on me. It's sort of like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the presentation's beautiful. It's a very attractive game.
It has really nice acrylic tokens that are actually 2-layered acrylic with the art in the center of it. That's really good. But yeah, I'm not really excited to get back to it. It's not a bad game at all, but it's C. I think that just dumping points into the track was actually a little too powerful and sort of took away from some of the intriguing parts of the game, unfortunately.
I can
One
see
quick
that.
note back to Misfit Heroes is that anytime you buy one of these games with translucencies, you have to peel a film off of every translucency, and there's about 100 of them. So luckily, my kids helped me out, but it is a task. So okay, we're coming to the end. There's not a lot of lists, not a lot of games left on this list. The first thing to mention is that he has published 12 different titles in the Cosmos Adventure Games line, which is basically point and click adventures, more or less. I've played half of one and I was like, "Oh, whatever, I'm not going to play the rest." So this is something that I have not collected. These also, I think, are with Matthew Dunstan. I don't know. You guys played one, Chris? What do you think of them?
Yeah, I've played a few of them. I dropped off really hard on the Volcano Island one. The dungeon was the first one, very family friendly when our daughter was 6 or 7 or so. It was
Yeah.
perfect. It was so good. Such a fun first like RPG dungeon
Hmm.
exploration type of a game. And we did a few, and we got to the Volcano Island one, and I'm convinced that one was broken. That
Uh huh.
the paths did not all connect or something.
That's what I think happened on mine too. We were in, I don't know what it was called, Black Ink or something. And we were going up this tower, like this building and the elevator, something. And it was like, we can't do anything like it. And I think I also had the wrong card, and I play a lot of like Unlock, those escape rooms. That was like my number 4, 5 favorite game all time. I would never play one of these over this. or one of these over and unlock. I have to give it D tier.
I see. Yeah,
this is one of. Go for it, Chris. No, go for it, girl.
Yeah, I'm torn. I don't know how to place it a tier because I've had such ping-ponged experiences with them.
Yeah,
sure.
This is the only time I could tell the story, so I will say my neighborhood has just given me random games. Race for the Galaxy, On the Curb, a copy of Dominion, Ticket to Ride. It's nice at passing along games. My only interaction with the adventure game is someone left the Volcano version out, so I have it, and now I know why. I should recycle it for them, I guess.
Throw that one into a volcano.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Cool. All right, the next one's actually a little more substantial. That's Summer Camp, a proper deck building game from 2021 with a very nice summer camp theme. This, I think, also Buffalo Games, good-looking art, and really simplified deck building stuff. You have different Dominion-style activities that you play with each game. Like this time, we're going to do cooking and arts and crafts and canoeing. And so those are giving you different types of actions that you're taking. And as you take them, you're advancing your hiker down these tracks and scoring points a couple ways, getting merit badges and such. It's like a deck building racing game, kind of. Very simple. I like it. My wife, who does not like games at all, actually really enjoyed it. Very quickly picked up on the mechanics of, like the physical mechanics of shuffling your deck and what it means to deck build. So for that reason, it was quite good. I'll give it a B just on memories, but I haven't played it in quite a while. I think it's ready for an expansion if they want to throw a couple more in there.
I think so. Have you played this one, Brendan?
I have not. Yeah.
Ooh, it is. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, go for it. This is one that I really wanted to. The presentation is adorable. It's almost like a Wes Anderson movie is what it feels like when you sort of look at this one. But anyway, what do you think of it, Chris?
That's a perfect description. Yeah, of that aesthetic and that kind of, that like picturesque kind of thing. I really enjoy it. I would give this one an A tier because it is a deck building game that I, as someone who owns almost every Dominion expansion and loves playing robust, deep deck building games, I also love pulling this one out. Not just with kids, not just with young families, but like with other gamers, because that the excitement of racing down those tracks. Do you race one to the end pretty quickly? Do you try to stagger them and keep them in line with each other? It does just enough push and pull in different directions, and it's just so pleasant. So yeah, it's an A tier for me.
And I'm remembering that you have to in order to get down the tracks, you have to get certain cards of those suits, of those types, essentially. That's the main function that they serve, in addition to like deck manipulation type stuff. It also comes with really nice printed tuck boxes to store all the different things and their associated merit badges. So that's very cool.
Buffalo Games was on fire for a while with that. Yeah,
I totally agree, except for Tetris. Then we have 2026's Wombat Poo, another Joey game. I'm really excited for this, but I don't believe it's here in the US yet. I hear it's coming. This is like a really simple press your luck dexterity game. I believe you, on your turn, flip a card. I don't remember if it's simultaneous or turn-based, but you flip a card and it gives you a different type of cube to place. Famously, wombats poop cubes. Don't ask me how. They poop out cubes. Something about the muscles, I don't know what they're doing, but you're stacking these things up. Sometimes they're small, sometimes they're big, and you just have a choice to, like, I guess, do another poop. And I think you play a poop card or something, and you stack up, or, and I believe the game says this, wipe. And if you wipe, that means you score points for like every block that you have. I honestly wish they hadn't said wipe. That's kind of weird for me, but I think the gameplay is going to be kind of fun, and it looks nice. So I don't know. I haven't played it. I won't rate it, but I'm excited about it.
I don't like this one, but I could see others liking it more than me. Yeah, it's just that weird kind of thing where if you choose to stay in, then you're not pushing your luck with your dexterity. You're kind of pushing your luck with someone else's dexterity, hoping they don't knock off over the tower. And they're all cubes, so they stack up for the most part pretty well. So you're just kind of sitting there for a while saying, okay, we're going to keep stacking up, right? So
So does the round end when someone's falls over? Is that what happens?
Yeah, or when everyone chickens out and wipes and
Oh,
scores the points. So it's
yeah,
it's a D tier for me, but
yeah.
don't
I
don't
remember
let that
seeing the
discourage you.
video on it and thinking like, because it's also just like you can kind of get +1 or +1. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see if it's poo poo. Sinister Institute, we talked about. Um, Wrath of Fire Mountain is actually a co-design with Eric Lang. This is a weird little minis game with dinosaurs. Sometimes you get dino minis that have special powers. You put them out on this tile for area majorities and move them around. There's dice-based actions. I don't know. I know you haven't played it, Brendan. Chris, you look like you've played it. What can you say?
It's it's my little blood rage. It's
It
have you
is
played
My
this
Little
one,
Blood
Paul?
Rage. I have played this one. I own this one, yes.
Yeah, it's adorable. You know, you roll the dice. I'm trying to remember. I think you do like the up to 3 dice rolls thing, and
Yeah, I
then you
think it's a
do what those
Yahtzee
actions
guy.
say. I like this
Right.
one personally more than Blood Rage. I just don't connect with a lot of Eric Lang designs.
Whoa.
I just don't. But this one kind of distills it down so simply that Phil Walker Harding specialty of here's a genre of game. How do you almost boil it down to its quintessence without losing the fun elements of it? And that's what this is for me. This is an area control, blood rage, but really simple and just the fun parts.
What tier does this get from you?
This is probably a B tier for me. I think
Wow.
it's
To
quite
say you
solid.
like this better than Blood Rage really shocked me. One thing I'll say, it's another Buffalo game, comes in a tin. It's got these little dinos, but my dinos kind of broke. I didn't really like my first play. I kind of don't want to play it again. I gotta go D tier on this. Wrath of whatever the hell, Volcano. What is it?
Wrath
Wrath
of
of
Fire
Fire
Mountain.
Mountain. No, not. It didn't work for me.
Oh, interesting.
Shockingly, this was his second game about a volcano, and this is actually our last game. We've somehow reached the end of this insane 2-hour episode. Perhaps we'll chop it into two. Who knows? But the last game to talk about is Oh No, Volcano. Brendan, did you play this one?
No. Oh no,
Oh
I have not
no.
volcanoed.
Chris, did you play this one?
I have, yeah. It's kind of a simple, almost a roll and move type game as you're trying to have
Yeah,
your climbers move up this very toyetic,
very.
slightly angled volcano, like the side of the cliff face of a mountain, and has these pegs poking out. And you want to move your explorers up there. You want to try to get up top, but of course, oh no, it's a volcano. So of course, lava
Mhm.
is going to be shooting down in the form of marbles that you roll down, trying to knock off other players, explorers, and hopefully not your own. And you also have the ability to kind of move these little blockers so that hopefully you're kind of moving this cliff face above your climber as to prevent the marbles from knocking them down. It's a
Yeah, you
toy.
got that right.
It's almost like a Hasbro toy.
That's right. That's what I wanted to say, is that this feels like what games used to look like in our childhood, where it's got this like Plinko board. And yes, it's a volcano. It's got printed things on it. There's gems you're trying to collect to take to your board. Every card you play is like a certain number of movement points that you can use to go up, but also a number which tells you which plinko slot you're going to drop one of these balls in. And if the ball hits your guy and knocks you off, you're off of the mountain, right? Um, Off the volcano. But when that happens, you get a little special card that's going to be extra good for you. There's like caves that you can use to jump. There is, like you said, the boulder thing you can put over yourself to protect. Other people are on this mountain too, so you're trying to sort of knock them off. Um, it's really, really charming. I really like it. I think it's such a simple, it's like, I don't know, I feel like Restoration Games would put this out because it's a silly little thing that could have existed in the 90s, but it is good and it's fun, and it's my 13-year-old's favorite game probably, period. It's like it's god tier for her, and so for me, it's probably B tier.
I think this as weird as it is to say this, I have almost nothing but praise to say about it. It's very very toy, kid friendly kind of thing. Game wise, it's okay. So it's like
Mhm.
a C tier for me, but like a really really high C tier. You know what I mean? And there's something that's like almost undefinable as to why I don't want to just keep coming back to it. But if you have a kid,
Sure.
and if that kid loves this game, you're also going to have fun as you play it. So yeah,
Yeah.
for something that's like simpler than restoration games as Fireball Island, but has that same toy forward nature to it, it's pretty cool. It's pretty
I'm
cool.
thinking probably of all of his games, this is the most that is a kid's game. This is a kid's game, right? I can't think of another one. He's got so many family games. This is like a kid's game that you would enjoy playing with them, probably.
Yeah.
Well, holy crap. We just did a bajillion games, more than it's certainly a record for most games discussed on any episode of Decision Space. Somebody on our Discord will have to keep the full compilation, let us know every S tier, A tier, B tier, all the way down to Garbage Town D tier. And if you've played some of these Phil Walker Harding games, some of these fillers, join us on the Discord and let us know what you like, what you don't like. Any parting thoughts here, Brendan or Chris, as we've looked at the full, gameography for Phil Walker Harding? Any thoughts?
I'll let Chris have the final word, but I'll just jump in and say I think it's obviously anyone designing this many games is astounding. And Phil has many more games inside him, I am sure. We will see many, many more games from Phil. And it's cool to see the ways that in his career he's riffed on all these different things. You know, we touched on sequencing, his ability to be sort of the chief distiller of board games and to take something that is popular and say, how can I reduce this to its most simple version and master at that? Set collection, columns, puzzly grids, 3D spatial puzzles. He's riffed in all these spaces. And I think it's cool watching the ways in which his games sort of pick a few of these things and play with them and see what he can make and then move on to something else. But all in sort of this unique Phil weight too. His games, they live in this very medium Phil light space that I really enjoy.
I agree. And it's nice when there's a designer who has something that almost feels like a bit of a calling card. When you see his name on a box, sometimes you get burned, right? There's a
Sure.
few D tier games on here, but for the most part, there's going to be something clever, something that is enticing about them. And it is also nice to know about what you're going to get, right? In terms of complexity, in terms of how hard it's going to be to actually start getting played. And since he made the turn to being a full-time board game designer, his output has increased, and there's more games that I think kind of sit at that B, C, and sometimes D tier. But he is still a designer who every time his name is on a box that comes out, I'm going to look at it because he has that many golden hits, but is still putting out games that like that All In Predictions. Like I said, one of my favorite games from his in a while,
For sure.
and I'm so glad that he's still putting out these things that I think are exactly what you said. Kind of his signature, quick distillations, and yet so fun forward. So yeah, great, wonderful designer. Oh, that I could be anything like Phil Walker Harding.
Oh, no kidding. I know. He has put out so much, and I think part of what has tied me to him with so much admiration and respect is just how much I've learned from all of his games. Similar to what Reiner Knizia does, where he teaches you about action economy and about what drafting means and how it works in different ways. And you can say what you want for balance. Maybe games are too overbalanced at times, but he at least teaches you how to do it. He, more than anybody else, understands exactly how a game can be balanced down just enough so that the winner comes out of a very delicate, slight efficiency over the other players in a way that is controlled and still allows for some high ceiling skill. Even if your scores stay tight, you can have a high skill ceiling. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and just a quick story about Phil. He pitched me a couple of games when I was at Elf Creek, and they did not fit Elf Creek. And I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, Phil, like I'm at Gamehead now. I'd love to take another look at those things." And he's like, "Oh, I put those away in a drawer. Like I'm not really pitching them around." That's how many games he has going that he doesn't really even need to say. He's got a couple of like diaries somewhere, notebooks. They're just full of ideas, and we're gonna see a lot more Phil for a long time, thankfully. Well, that is the end of this potential two-part episode. We'll see what happens on the editing side. Big thanks to Phil Walker Harding for his incredible work. Thank you to Chris Yee for joining us here today as our guest. Very knowledgeable. I don't know who else we could have got that would have been anywhere near me in terms of how many Phil Walker Harding games they've played. Coming up on a future episodes, we're actually going to cover our top games from 2010 to 2014. We're going to have an interesting structure to that episode. And without tipping my hand too much, we have some more Phil Walker Harding content planned. Please join us on our Discord. If you are so inclined, head to decisionspacepodcast.com/Patreon. And thanks always to Hembry for our intro outro song, Reach Out. Bye-bye.